Civilian bureaucracies presiding over the armed forces could not, therefore, grasp strategy because it involved a quite different way of thinking. They would look for standardized solutions, failing to understand how much easier this made the enemy's task. Luwak also acknowledged that even if national leaders somehow acquire this paradoxical turn of mind, they might not dare display it lest they alarm their constituents and colleagues. Any deviation from the commonsensical conventions of the time and place would risk a loss of authority. The linear planning model, which Robert McNamara had taken to the Pentagon, was flawed precisely because it could not anticipate everything and so was likely to produce perverse outcomes. This led Litwak into arguing, in effect, for confusion or at least against attempted coherence, for only policies that are seemingly contradictory can circumvent the self-defeating effect of the paradoxical logic. Litwak overdid this point. War did not require a different logic, just a recognition of a different context, one in which it would make perfect sense to follow a different path to one followed in peace. Litwak focused attention on the importance of what he identified as the operational level. This had been neglected, and with it, the classical traditions of European war. Jomini, Littlehart, and John Boyd had referred to this level as one for grand tactics. Jomini described these as the maneuvering of an army upon the battlefield and the different formation of troops for attack. Luger believed that the operational level was the critical sphere for generalship, and for that reason deplored its absence in contemporary American military thought. It was there that schemes of warfare such as blitzkrieg or defense and depth evolve or are exploited. Americans had neglected this because of their dependence on an attrition style of war. The idea of an operation level war as a politics-free zone where commanders could demonstrate their mastery of managing large forces over wide areas in a series of complex engagements with the enemy was an inheritance from von Moltke. It was given added salience because of its prominence in Soviet military thought. From the formation of the Soviet Union, its military leadership had been engaged in theoretical debates about the operational level as an intermediate stage of tactics and strategy, and which way they should turn when faced with the choice between decisive annihilation or more defensive attrition. In the build-up to the Second World War, Marshal Mikhail Tukvesky reflections on the impact of motorization and air power had led him to come out firmly in favor of mass mechanized forces able to conduct deep operations in a war of annihilation. His opponents were castigated not only for poor strategy, but for poor theory, which was more dangerous. This helped seal the fate of many in Stalin's purges, although it did not spare Tukvesky in a similar fate. After the war, the initial Soviet focus had been on the impact of thermonuclear weapons, which led to a reduced conventional army, but by the late 1960s, the numbers were rising again, reflecting the view that the best chance of victory was early in a war, before American reserves could get across the Atlantic to Europe. The General Staff stressed the importance of being able to mount maneuvers deep in NATO territory with minimal prior mobilization, maximum surprise, and combined forces. This tradition, as reflected in the military doctrines of the Warsaw Pact, was another reason for NATO countries, led by the United States, to get on the same wavelength. Litwak encouraged the view that attrition based on firepower and maneuver based on movement were almost polar opposites. Attrition was presented as not so much a regrettable response to a challenging predicament, but a deliberate choice reflecting a particular mindset. For Litwak, it involved an exaggerated dependence on firepower, as such to the detriment of maneuver and flexibility. This style, he acknowledged, had the great attractions of predictability and functional simplicity. All military effort could be geared to attacking sets of targets in a systematic fashion. Under its misleading aura, war would be governed by a logic analogous to that of microeconomics. The conduct of warfare at all levels would be analogous to the management of a profit maximizing industrial enterprise. In the end, superior resources should win. Even though applied with routine and repetitive tactics and procedure, the greater the input, the greater the output. The cost would lie in absorbing the enemy's reciprocal actuation, and the calculation could be upended should the enemy attract an ally to it. The cost would lie in absorbing the enemy's reciprocal actuation, and the calculation could be appended should the enemy attract an ally to achieve superior balance of power. Against this dull, methodical, bureaucratic linearity, Orwell promoted imaginative flair and operational paradox. Against attritional science, he sought a maneuverist or relational maneuver. Warfare sought to avoid enemy strength in order to attack enemy weakness. Relational maneuver warfare sought to avoid enemy strength in order to attack enemy weakness. It was Lutwak suggested an almost compulsory approach for the resource weak side. Imposing the issue in these terms, Boyd, Lutwak, and their contemporaries were urging a return to the military classics of the modern era, but with a postmodern twist resulting from their heightened sensitivity to cognitive processes. On the critical issues of military strategy, the classics offer less clarity than was often supposed, so the net result was often to update for a new audience the muddle of earlier times. The starting point was inevitably Clausewitz, but as was well known, On War was not a finished work. Clausewitz was in the process of revising his ideas at the time of his death. The resultant ambiguity had affected all those who had taken this work as their starting point, and further distortions had arisen. And there's our 2 pages, living life 2 pages at a time. Why am I doing this, guys? Because I'm trying to maximize my brain power without weakening my body. So I just rested for a little bit. I was walking around the house a lot, of course, barefoot, walking around, and it's like I got my rest. I need these benefits. I need to have an edge, a mental edge in this world, right? It's a fucking concrete jungle out there. I need this, but through self-experimentation, I noticed that a lot of sitting fucking just weakens my body. Just weaken. I mean, you're not using it, but I got my rest. My body got its rest. I shifted. I went from body up to mind, scrambled the mind up a little bit, got it going. Now I stand up and I go do other stuff, and I read 2 pages at a time of this book. So when I was reading in bigger spurts, I'm at 204. So I've read all this. I've read all of it. The book has 600 pages. Here you see it takes all the running you can do to keep in the same place. If you want to get somewhere else, you must run at least twice as fast. That's fucking sick. Okay. But, yeah, if you do anything fast, it's cardio, guys. Don't be fooled. You do anything fast, it's cardio. The world's going to judge you no matter what. Let that sink in. Anything done fast is cardio, obviously. You know, some things are better slow, though. So let's see. I really do like this, though, right here. I'm going to take a picture of it. Damn. So I read 2 pages, living life 2 pages at a time. We're going to try this technique out. Strategy by Lawrence Friedman. And the reading out loud part, that was actually a tip given to me by a senior woman. She says it's good for you even more in your brain if you read out loud. So I just know that I want to have my body and mind. I want to have. I want to have. I want to be. Sounds crazy, but I want to be as perfect as possible. Even though I'm never going to be, I still want to try to be a fucking unit physically and reading mentally. So it's like we're gonna do what we gotta do, and that's it.